nighty night, and then she asked if she could kiss me. She said,
don't you want to spend the night?
well, then she bit me on the ear, felt like I was in a Tyson fight. Oh God, she's losing control now. So I said, I just want someone to hold, yeah, yeah, yeah. Mariah, she ain't for me. That brunette on VIP, she don't hold a candle to you. 'Cause baby, you're just the type, stay up and talk to all night. Would you be that star in my story book Yeah, 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 yeah. Baby, you're just the type I can talk to.
He started out owning 3 nightclubs, a Chinese restaurant, and managing a band called Mason. And now he's one of the biggest record promoters all over the country. And you'll hear his story next on It's Lifestyle. Hello, I'm Gina Woodham. Welcome to It's a Lifestyle, where we interview people with interesting careers and hobbies, which for my guests, it's more than a career, it becomes a lifestyle. And I'm hoping my guests motivate some of you to gather your hidden talents and aspirations to build your own unique career. Today's guest works with the likes of Mick Jagger, Mariah Carey, Cher, Billy Joel. He is the hottest record promoter across the country. He is the owner of Bonus Music. Please welcome Ron Herbert.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. How are you?
So let's talk about your childhood.
Okay. Oh.
You're 5 years old. What are you thinking about?
Thinking about baseball and candy and running around the lawn, and my mom, switching me all the time. Just what a normal kid thinks about.
So music really wasn't
No,
in the picture then?
didn't really get into it till I got into college.
So as you're growing up through high school, what are you thinking about? What's your focus?
I played football, and I wanted to become a professional athlete, and so I just working out and trying to get. I was really small in high school, so I wanted to get big, and so I just started working out. And actually,
you're 6'2".
I'm 6'2" now, but I was only like 5'7", 5'8" then. Weighed like 170 pounds, and I went to Grady High School out of Atlanta. And I went to actually Woodward Academy. The very first year that Woodward Academy became Woodward Academy, my mother had sent me there. My father had passed away when I was real young, so kind of had to grow up without a dad. So we moved in with my grandfather on Lenox Road, in Atlanta. Yeah. So I'm actually a real native Atlantan. But like anything else, it was just more or less to play football and enjoy life, and didn't really think about it when you're in high school. You just kind of I always loved music though. I was always a big music fan, but never thought it would be my life. Never.
And you went to college thinking you were going to be a pro football player.
Right. I went to play football, University of South Carolina in Columbia, and wow, it was one of those kind of things where I got there and I'd gained 30 pounds and worked out real hard, and it got to like 215, 220, and when I went to play, they ran us so hard. I had some asthma, and I had a problem with asthma. I had a hard time breathing, and actually this kid died right in front of me, on the football field, and that really freaked me out, and I ended up walking off that day and went to a bar to have a drink, and that's where my career started.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Is that the point where, you talk about at 19 owning 3
I-
bars?
Yep. Well,
Chinese restaurant?
At 19, I started owning 3 bars. By the time I was probably 21, 22, I had 3 bars. And
So what made you decide to get into the bar business?
Well, I was, like I said, I was bummed out. They'd shaved my head, so I'm walking around campus with a little beanie cap on, with a shaved head, like not knowing what I'm going to do. I go into this bar called Don's down on Hardin Street down in Columbia, and met this guy named Don. Having a couple beers, and a lot of the football guys would come in, on the weekends and stuff. I made a lot of friends during that time, So I was just hanging out with my buddies, and all of a sudden, one day I was in the bar and he mentioned that he was, you know, he needed like 20 grand to pay some taxes off or something. So I called my mom and asked her if I could borrow some money, and she set me up. I took out a loan and bought half of the bar, and then he opened up another bar. He got in trouble again, bought the other half, that half from him. Then I ended up buying.
And you didn't mind? You didn't mind the fact that he was,
no, I mean,
having.
You know, again, that was his part of it. You know, I mean, again, I wasn't running the bars at that point. I was like more or less letting him do all the, you know, get it started kind of stuff. You know, and I learned. I was so young. I didn't know anything about that part of it. You know, and I remember just, you know, as things grew, we opened up a beer and wine store. Then I bought a Chinese restaurant. And
Why Chinese restaurant?
Well, just because it was already a Chinese restaurant in there, and I bought the little building there. It was just an investment because it was right across the street from where the bar was.
Now, at this point, are you doing stuff like most business people do? Are you doing the due diligence? Are you finding out the profit? Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned a lot from that. In fact, during college, I never graduated. It's really weird because I left the last year because I'd become fairly successful. It's really weird when you have your professors coming into you, drinking at your bar. And then, you know, one of the professors ended up getting kicked out of the bar, and of course, I ended up getting flunked. So that's one of the reasons I left. You know, because it was like I was already doing okay financially, and I had a club called The Other Place where I had this band called Mason. It was the first time I'd been exposed to real rock and roll music, and these guys were, hey Ron, let's go to California, man. We'll become big stars. You're our manager. You know, this is like, you know, nothing compared to Hollywood, you know, so.
Now, what is your thinking? Here you are, you're owner of 3 bars, Chinese restaurant. That's a pretty busy lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely.
And then this band comes up to you and wants you to be their manager. What?
Well, they were cocky and they were good. The people at the bars loved them. And so I was going off what people were telling me. Hey, Ron, these guys are great. They could be the next King Crimson. They could be the next Pink Floyd.
What made you think that you could
I
help
could do
them?
it? Because I was, you know, 20-something years old and making good money and just, you know, cocky. Not necessarily cocky, but just confident, you know, that I could
do whatever.
Why couldn't I? I mean, I'd already done this. Why couldn't I go out into Hollywood and try something?
So you have this wonderful story about how your first time in LA.
Yeah, I'd never been to LA. I flew out there, and I remember, you know, walking up and going like, "Where's a place where I can stay?" You know, I want to hang out where the rock and roll people hang out. I've just come here. I've got the bands coming across the country in my little beat up car. I had like a Lincoln Continental. They're towing all the equipment across, and I'm having to go set up a place for them to eventually live. So I go out, and so a cab driver tells, well, I'll take you to the Continental Hidehouse. They called it the Ride House during those days. I didn't know at the time, but I walk in there, and this is like just, if you ever seen the movie Almost Famous, they have a scene of this. And all these like hippie guys, I had long hair back in those days, and walking around, I'm going, wow, this is pretty cool. So I walk up, and I go, listen, I need a place to stay for a couple weeks. I need to find a house for this band. You know, I'm going to have to find a house where we can rehearse and all that stuff. And so the guy goes, well, I'm sorry, sir, we're sold out. And I went, oh, wow, this is like the place I want to be, you know. So a guy behind me, a little fat gentleman little fat jolly guy from England goes, he can have one of our rooms. I went, yeah, I'll take one of his rooms. And you got to remember, I'm dead tired, don't know anybody in Hollywood. So I said, okay, cool. So anyway, I said, I'll take his room. The guy said, okay. So anyway, he gives me a room key, and I go up to the 9th floor. I'll never forget that. I walk the elevator. These 2 big guys are standing there going, sir, where do you think you're going? They had a little thing in the ear. I'm thinking, oh my God, the president, somebody's here. Something really weird's going on here. But I'm so tired, I don't care. I just want to get in my room and, just go to sleep. So basically what happens is I go down. The guy showed me where my room is. Again, I'm just too tired to even care about it. So I take a nap till about 11 o'clock that night. I go downstairs to the bar, and I see the guy that had given me the room sitting over there. So I sent a bottle of champagne over to him. And he invited me, told the waitress to have me come sit down with him. So I came over and I introduced myself as Ron. He says, I'm Peter, and I said, yeah. So I told him about, hey, I'm gonna be a rock and roll big time manager. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. He's just smirking at me. He's like, but nice. He didn't say that much about it. I'm from Europe, and yeah, So he just listened to. All of a sudden, I see behind me all these lights behind me, and all of a sudden, snaps, this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, he's looking. I'm like going, what's going on? He goes, oh, here come the guys I manage. Ends up being Robert Plant and Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. Oh, they come over there. I'm flipped out, but I'm trying to be cool. I'm going, wow, this is like this is like the first time they were going to play Stairway to Heaven, and at the Forum. It's going to be the first time they actually debuted that album. And so, ends up they come sit down, and I became friendly with them and hung out. Went to 3 shows with them, and I met everybody in Hollywood within the first 3 days. I thought I knew everything, everybody, and the bottom line was that once they left and I was by myself again, I realized I knew no one, because these people just wanted to be around because they were backstage with Led Zeppelin.
Ron, Hang on. We want to hear more.
Oh, you got it.
And we will. Next on It's Lifestyle. Stay tuned.
We walk to the park sometimes, my whole family. We get to feed the fish. And we play like monkeys. Dad plays the hardest, so he gets the most tired. We always say goodbye to the fish last. I think that makes them feel good.
Family, isn't it about time? From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to It's Lifestyle. We're talking to record promoter Ron Herbert of Bonus Music. So you had your first brush with fame, meeting the group Led Zeppelin.
Exactly.
And then what happened?
Basically, you know, the band finally came over, and you know, I rented my hacienda, and the biggest problem was I didn't, you know, really didn't know anybody. You know, even though I thought I knew people for the first 3 days, and obviously I didn't really know, so I had to go to the Whiskey A Go Go, and I actually had to pay people to let us play. I mean, it wasn't like we got paid; we had to pay them to let us play, because you're in Hollywood. It's a whole different scene there. You learn stuff that you don't realize. What you know, you just in your mind you think it's something else, but it's not. So.
And what does that mean?
Well, I mean, would you ever think that you'd have to pay somebody to let you play? I mean, wouldn't you think that they'd pay you to play because you're giving a service? But because you're trying to get a record deal, you want to be seen by who, you know, where the people hang out. And the Whiskey A Go Go was the place they hung out, so that's where I went. So ended up being the house band there.
So at what point in managing this band, because I imagine you're still kind of feeling your way with it, did you figure this might be a career for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I got to Hollywood, I really loved it. I mean, it was great. It was like, you know, I was struggling. I was supporting 8 people. You know, one of the guys' wives, you know, we sent her to French cooking school, and she cooked for, you know, like 10 of us, 12 of us every night. And I gave her like $8 to cook for us. And so I just knew I loved the lifestyle of it. It was fun. And you got to remember, I'm only in my 20s, and I'm still making money at my nightclubs. You know, so I kind of at least didn't have to worry about the money part of it, but I did, because I mean, obviously, down the road, you know, didn't work out, but you know, that's a nightclub thing. But
so you came back from LA eventually.
I eventually went back, and I found my clubs where obviously I'd let my friends run my night. I employed like 60 people, and I had 2 or 3 employees ended up ripping me off and didn't pay taxes. Next thing I knew, the IRS would put liens on the places, and of course they didn't come get them. They came to talk to me. You know, so I had to close all the places down, sell all the equipment, lost everything we had. Yeah, it was.
So then it was just you and Mason.
Me and Mason, right? And so at that point, we went to Virginia Beach, because at least they were, at that point we hadn't got a record deal yet. So after 5 years of trying, you know, I mean, we gave it 5 years, and we went to Virginia Beach and hung out there, and that's where I met another group called Snuff, and Mason ended up breaking up. But I finally did get him a record deal on Bearsville Records, which was Paul Butterfield, Foghat, and those guys. And we cut our first album, but never on Warner Brothers, and never got released. It was on Bearsville Warner Brothers. Just never
now most people, 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
they might give up.
No, you can't. In the music business, you can't give up, because if you love it, if it's in your blood, you'll know it, and you won't give up. I refuse, even though I wasn't making any money at that point, I didn't have the income I was having before, I refused to give up, because I'm just not a person that ever gave up. I don't believe in giving up.
But what about the industry made you want to stick it out?
Well, just the fact that I was a dreamer. You know, I always thought it'd be great to stand on the stage and see 25,000 people clapping and just having a great time. That was my dream, was to be able to stand up on stage, manage a band that was playing in front of 20,000 people. And the only way you do that is by putting records out and by, you know, becoming, you know, somewhat famous. And so I had to stick with it until that happened, you know. So
you managed bands for quite a few years. And you had, from then, you managed Snuff,
and
Arrogance.
right.
And so let's talk about that, and talk about some of your